So we're planning out our summer, and we're trying to figure out, what kids should go to what camps and how much we should pay for certain camps and which ones are actually worth it. And it made me deeply aware of the amount of privilege that we all have. And I was reflecting on this, and I was kind of having a bit of a online debate with somebody just very recently about what it means to sort of get ahead on online platforms. I'm going to go back to the whole privilege thing in a second. But this debate was that you can set your way, you can strategize your way to having more performance on an online platform. And you simply just have to follow these very simple rules. And my argument is frankly, I've been doing this for a very long time, and I know it's a lot about just finding your sense of self. And it's not about strategizing in any sort of way, because people on the other side have already thought about this. They have intentionally designed these platforms in such a way that it's very difficult to actually game them. And my argument is you might as well just be yourself and trying to strategize your way. And this goes back to my first point. When we're planning our summer plans, and that we're looking at and weighting the costs of all these different programs and whether it's actually worth it to go to this program, some of them at very fancy places versus other programs that might be at state institutions or a little bit more boring places, and looking at the cost differences. First of all, there's dramatic cost differences. And second of all, it made me, because I'm very financially minded, I'm a business professor and I study this kind of stuff, I was very reminded of the privilege that we often have to do these. First of all, the fact that I can choose to go into, or we can sign up for these summer programs and pay for one or two of them or whatever, right? And then second of all, when I was thinking about this, is the people that can actually go to the ones that are a little bit more elite without any constraint. That is a very, very privileged thing. And I was thinking about this. One of the things that we look at in terms of, whether somebody is going to be a successful CEO in the business world, we actually use controls for what education they went to, whether that they went to an elite school or not. And, often we interpret that as is that they have the great schooling and the great capacity to go to these schools. But an alternative story is that they were just dumb luck. They just had dumb luck in that they were in the right place, the right time. They had the right parents that sent them to all of these different summer programs. They had the right parents that could actually afford to go to these different programs. And they were just silly luck. They were just there just because of the right circumstances at the right time, and there's no rhyme or reason why they actually should be there. And it made me reflect on the amount of privilege that we often have, particularly those of us that are in Western worlds. And I was thinking about this and how unfair it actually often is. So actually, part of the reason why I'm building the whole reciprocity project, so it's this idea of creating, how do we actually create research papers and grants so that they're non-rejectable. We start with that in mind. What might that actually look like, and build a platform to get to that point. I know it's crazy, and everybody thinks I'm crazy for actually doing that. But if we start with this at square one, couldn't we democratize it? Couldn't we make it easier for everybody to join and make it fun and exciting? Because part of the reason why it's difficult to do these things, first of all, it's very expensive to do these kind of things, to get a good education, but also you have to be belonging to the right people at the right time. You have to have the right contacts, the right resources, all of those things. And frankly, for most of us, whether that we actually are in a developed country or not, most of us actually don't have access to that. And even my wife and I, we actually do pretty well. I'm a business school professor. I'm not going to tell you what my wife does, but we do pretty well. And we still have to think about whether it's worth our time and money to send our kids to these very elite different programs and all of that. And I just think it's just truly I don't think it's actually good for economic progress to make it so only a certain number of people can actually do these things. So what if we designed the system, designed the ability to be a good scientist, a good researcher from a different perspective, where we say everybody can get through and it's just a matter of sticking with it. And we got to figure out, how do we get people to stick with these things? So we have a lot of available tools to do these things to make it easier. And I'm building that out. That's what the whole reciprocity project actually is to start from that end in mind. So anybody, anywhere, can create a non-rejectable research paper. It's kind of a crazy idea. I understand it. It's really crazy to think like that. But at the same time, if it's not me, who else is going to build this? And for those of you who have seen the videos of my own experiences of who I am and where I'm about, and you can watch many of those, you'll find out that, frankly, I had very much the same experiences. And it was very difficult for me to get to where I actually was. And so I'm actually trying to figure out how to give it backwards so other people can figure out and do it on their own and learn and realize that they can actually do this stuff. Because frankly, I don't think we can rely on other institutions and other people to do these things for us. We have to figure out on our own. And so that's the reason why I'm doing this. I realize how privileged I am, how privileged we actually all are, many of us. So why can't we pay the favor forward? That's why it was called reciprocity in the first place. Now it's frustrating because I have to figure out how to build this thing. I have to figure out how to connect with you. But I'm up to the challenge. I've been doing this for 8 years now, the whole social media thing. And I realize it has nothing to do with all of the gamings and all of those approaches that is typically taught in, business school and all that stuff. And it's more about being yourself. And if I could figure out how to create the reciprocity project so that it becomes more of who you are, and as well you get to figure out my story, where I'm going, what it's about, I think that's a wonderful thing. So the goal is never to make it feel scammy. It's always out in the open, but I need your help, and I need you to tell other people out there about it. Make sure that lots of people understand what I'm trying to do. If you know somebody that is smart and capable, reach out, let them know what I'm trying to build, because I think we can actually change the world with this. Little bit by little bit, the Reciprocity Project is breaking down barriers, making sure that other people who wouldn't normally get access to the ability to do research, the ability to create something like a research paper, can do that. Why not? If it's not me, some whacked out crazy person that has a little bit of understanding of how this stuff works, why not? So I'm going to tell you, I'm crazy. I feel crazy. But I'm going to try to change the world one little step at a time. And if that's what I can do, that's what I can do. And if I don't make it when I'm 90 years old and crusty, not that I'll be crusty when I'm 90, but when I'm 90 years old, I'm going to look back and say, you know what? I tried to move the needle. I know that there's many people out in the world that could use this, and I tried. And hopefully you get a little bit of the bug too, and you figure out that you could do this as well. All right, take care, and have a wonderful day.